Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Follow along on Twitter @RobMKendall, robkendallshow.com. There are two columns that have come out recently that I felt totally captured what is going on with Indiana politics and government right now and why our government is failing. They're by the same guy. Let's get into him. He joins us now, our old pal, James Briggs from IndyStar. James, hello.
Hello.
So these two columns, you've had them come out back-to-back days. I thought they were A-plus columns. We talked about them on the show. First one is your column on Braun, in which you said a major problem for Braun is he's too focused on keeping Trump happy or trying to be Trump-like or keep the Trump orbit happy rather than listening to the voters of Indiana.
Yeah, we're coming off of a really embarrassing loss for him with redistricting. He sort of walked the plank for Trump on that issue and failed. And it still just doesn't seem like he's mentally adjusting to this new era where President Trump... Republicans can't just rely on Trump to do the thinking for them. And so we saw that reporters, of course, asked Braun, well, what do you think about Iran? And he just really reflexively offered the Trump line on Iran. But I just don't think that's going to work for him. I mean, we're seeing it not work for him. He's got 25% approval in Indiana. He's not a popular governor, and he's only 1 year in. Like that's a really bad approval rating for just 1 year into your term. He's got to turn it around, and I think what's very clear, especially, again, coming off of redistricting, just relying on whatever Trump thinks and saying that or doing that is just not going to turn it around for him. He's at a moment where he either needs to come up with his own reason for being governor, or it's just going to continue to sort of go downhill for him.
And one of the things you touched on, I think this is very true, and look, we really saw this. It's interesting you talked about the Trump era now. There was a time in 2018 where Braun really captured that Trump orbit, and it propelled him past Joe Donnelly. But in 2018, we saw Todd Rokita go off the rails in a Senate race where he essentially tried to become Donald Trump, and he totally melted down and was like, you're not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And Rokita was a guy who actually could have run on some government competency stuff. He was a good Secretary of State, but everybody needed to be Trump. I think you make a good point now. I think even people who are Trump supporters, it's not the end-all, be-all that it used to be.
Yeah, well, and there have always been issues with this approach, right? Like you mentioned Todd Rokita. Like, so he has run that playbook, but he's one of those people who doesn't understand exactly why Trump is popular. Todd Rokita has zero charisma. Donald Trump has a lot of charisma. Yeah. He's funny. He's interesting. Yeah. He's entertaining. He captivates people. Todd Rokita has none of those things. He'll try to be funny. He can do some funny social media posts sometimes. I don't know if he's doing them himself or somebody writes them for him. But he's one of those Republicans who he's like moderately successful in the Trump era. He's attorney general, obviously, but that's not where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in the Senate. Right. So he hasn't quite gotten there, and it's because he doesn't totally understand like why this has worked for Trump and why it doesn't work for him.
Yeah, so and so you go on this column. James Briggs of IndyStar is our guest, talking about his column on Braun and why Braun is so unpopular. And then we'll get to this column, which is even better, the one on Diego and Ballard. I knew you were proud of that one because you told me, you said it's coming. And so I know how writers work. When you say it's coming, you're proud of it. The downstream guys are this way too. Beckwith, Morales, like all of these guys, and you wrote about this in your column, their gut instinct is, what would Trump do? What would make Trump happy? What would Trump's play here be? And they're not thinking of what do the people actually want.
Yeah, and I think I can't say anything with total confidence. I mean, who knows, right? Like, I've been wrong so much these last 10 years or so.
You actually have a column every year about things you're wrong about.
Yeah, I try to own it, right? Like, I do get things wrong sometimes. I try to own it. But right now, what I think is happening is, and if you can see signs all around, you can see signs the way Democrats are winning across the country in special elections. You can see signs the way the MAGA playbook just isn't working as well for Republicans anymore. So Republicans need to come up with something different, something distinct from Donald Trump. Like, just being Trump or doing whatever Trump says on any given day, that's not enough anymore. You've got to come up with your own thing. Obviously, Trump is still very, very popular among Republicans. So, distancing yourself from him still has consequences, and I don't expect Mike Braun to do anything like that. But eventually, you have to tell the people of Indiana why you want to lead the state of Indiana, and we're just not seeing that from Mike Braun, and I think that's showing up right now.
Do you think he thought, he being Braun, they thought of redistricting? Like, it was never there. This is what I can't figure out. The polling showed it was never there. Rod Bray, the leader of the Senate, was telling him it's not there. And it's like playing a game of checkers where you have one king and the other guy has 5 kings left. Hey, the game is over, but you can just keep moving your piece side to side. Like, what was he do? What was his end game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the crux of the issue we're talking about. There's just sort of this assumption from folks like Braun that if you just do the thing Trump wants you to do, it will get there somehow. And we've seen that at times, and not all the time. I mean, we saw the effort to repeal Obamacare that failed in Trump's first term. So it hasn't always been the case that whatever Trump wants happens. But I think most of the time, Republicans in the end do what Trump wants them to do. And I think that Braun had this assumption that Trump and his administration was going to strong arm those legislative holdouts. They were going to do redistricting in the end. They could only hold out so long. And some of them flipped. So I think there were signs. If you were Mike Braun, you could see maybe the path there, but it didn't work this time.
You wrote about this, I think it was last year. It must have been last year because it's property tax related. By the way, my mother is never more proud than when she sees me in the IndyStar. To my parents, that's a huge deal. But I had my own show. No big deal. I had my own podcast. No big deal. Hey, you were in the Star. I saw you in the Star. You wrote to this something about this, and I think I experienced this too. Braun craves acceptance.
Yeah.
And so he keeps putting himself in positions like with property tax where he wanted our support. His heart was never really in it, but he's like, just whatever to get this guy to support me. I'll make whatever deal he wants to make because I got to have him. And he keeps putting himself, redistricting was sort of the same thing, but with Trump, where he writes checks with his mouth that his actions can't cash.
Yeah, property tax, I think that was even a worse example for Mike Braun because there was no Trump path to, passing property. Like, Trump had nothing to do with any of that. There was a lot of grassroots support for it. You were a big part of that, but I think there were a lot of signs that what Braun was promising, he was not going to be able to deliver on, and he should have seen that. He had people telling them that. Right. I know he did. Right. But he just ignored them, and that's something I hear from people around Braun is, one, Braun thinks he's doing a great job. Two, Braun,
does he really?
Yeah, that's what I hear anyway. That Braun, the feedback that we're seeing, the bad polling, the gaffes like redistricting and property taxes, like he just doesn't see that all amounting to a poor performance as governor. My understanding from people around him is he thinks he's doing great.
That's crazy. And do they show him these things like
that? I'm not sure, but my understanding is he's reluctant to take advice from people who suggest you might want to try a different approach here. Yeah. He hasn't been receptive to that so far, and I think that's I think we're seeing that.
James Briggs, IndyStar, is our guest. Okay, column number 2, and this was so good. Everybody should totally go read it. You have a column on the Republican response to Greg Ballard getting in the Secretary of State's race as an independent. We spent a lot of time yesterday on this. These guys, I mean, they just pulled the mask off on who they are, where they're going after Greg Ballard for stuff, in some cases, they didn't even do.
Yeah.
But then their own guy essentially did as bad or worse than what they've accused Ballard of doing. They don't say a word about it.
Yeah, it's maybe it shouldn't be, but it's stunning. It's stunning to see the way that Republicans are just going after Greg Ballard. First of all, Greg Ballard was an extremely popular mayor of Indianapolis. The last Republican.
They loved him.
Yes, absolutely. And there was some tension there. He was on the wrong side of Republicans in some instances. RFRA. He was on the sort of resistance effort to RFRA. So that, I think, has been some long-term rifts there. But nonetheless, he was someone that Republicans could point to in Indianapolis and say, we have, unlike a lot of other states out there, we have a Republican-led, largest city in the state. They were proud of that. And I think overall, Ballard, I think, tried to govern Indianapolis as a Republican, even though you can certainly point to issues where, and I wrote about this, he had a lot of progressive instincts. But again, I think that's just sort of meeting your constituents where they're at. So his record, I think Republicans were proud of his record until like a couple days ago, until he decided to run as an independent for Secretary of State.
How do you do that with a straight face? And this we talked about yesterday. How do you do that with a straight face where for 2 decades you say, gold standard, this is the big tent, this is what we should be, Greg Ballard's great. And then in an hour, he's a carpetbagger, he's the worst guy ever, he's a big government liberal. And I said, well, I guess I was proven right, because I was screaming about those things when he was the mayor. These guys just, like, they have no shame.
I think a lot of this is just projecting insecurity. Like a lot of people, especially people who have made their living in Republican politics, they get their paychecks or they get social status, whatever the case may be, they have made deep moral concessions the last few years. And they, when Diego Morales was doing a litany of corruptions that you have talked about, many others have talked about.
Which one?
A long record of incompetence. I mean, Diego Morales is close to the worst who have been elected to statewide office. But so many of those Republicans have just held their tongues because that is sort of the cost of doing business as a Republican right now. And then they watch Greg Ballard, who they admire, step out, take a risk, run for Secretary of State as an independent. And that really brings out their insecurities because, they didn't do that. They towed the line. They shut their mouths when Diego was doing corruption. But here's this guy sort of flaunting his independence. And I think it makes them mad.
Yeah, the one that gets me is, so Ballard moves to South Carolina, as many older people do. He's only there a couple of years. He moves back. He's been here for 3 years. And they're going on him on like his voter history. When Diego Morales, when he was running for Congress, voted in a county different from where he was taking his homestead credit, which you can't do, and they've never said a word about that.
Yeah, I was very interested in that discourse because I broke that story about Diego voting illegally, and I couldn't find any Republicans who seemed to care at the time. Nobody cared. I mean, that's part of this culture now within the party. To be a good member of the tribe, you have to sort of let your team coast to victory, as Diego Morales did, no matter what individual players have done to sort of shame themselves and shame the party all around. Diego is just an awful candidate, an awful state. I mean, everything that we knew about him when he was a candidate has come true also now that he's in office. And these Republicans, for the most part, have not said anything about it. But now they're just digging for whatever little scrap they can find on Greg Ballard. And in some cases, like this, this thing that Ballard shot down immediately about, this accusation that he may have voted illegally. Ballard shot that down, said no, he moved back, and he was only in South Carolina for a short while.
And that was a state rep that threw that out there.
Yeah.
Like someone who's in charge.
Right. So they're just looking for things to hang on Ballard now that in some cases explicitly do apply to Diego Morales, and they just don't care. So this is not about standards. This is about how it makes them feel that this run of Republican dominance where they don't have to worry about competitive elections, that period may be over right now.
Yeah, and you made a great point, and we talked about this at length. Greg Ballard, even if he doesn't win, can be immensely important because he may end the Republican monopoly.
Right.
What couple minutes here left with James Briggs from IndyStar. Can Ballard win?
You certainly can't rule it out. I would not say he's favored. We haven't seen any evidence so far that he's favored. But again, this is someone who had no money, no name ID, and he took on Bart Peterson, a Democratic mayor of Indianapolis, in 2007, and he won. I mean, Peterson had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars more than Greg Ballard did at the time, and I mean, everyone just assumed he was going to just crush him. And Greg Ballard won that election, so he knows how to win. He's got smart people around him. I mean, I'm assuming he's not stepping into this race with his eyes closed. He knows what he's getting into, so you certainly can't rule out the possibility that he wins.
Are the Republicans going to nominate Diego Morales now that they know I mean, like, they probably should have known the danger before, but they're not going to nominate him. Like, they got to get it together at some point, right?
That's such an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, because and you've sort of been a part of that convention madness, with Micah Beckwith. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have thought they would have nominated Diego Morales the first time 4 years ago, and then everything we know about Diego Morales now, we knew about him then, and the convention delegates supported him anyway. You can sort of see this world in which this Greg Ballard entrance into the race is just making a lot of those delegates mad, and they're like, no, we're going to stand by Diego. Or, you can see it sort of having that kind of that kind of effect on delegates. I mean, these are folks who are the insiders of the Republican Party. They go to all the Lincoln Day dinners across the state. They are extremely involved. They're not the typical Indiana voter. And so it's really unpredictable, but they do have this recent track record of going with, sort of extreme problematic candidates and not really worrying about it.
Two fabulous columns. Read them both. The one on Braun, the one on Ballard and Diego. It's great. James Briggs, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.